Good evening. The time is exactly 19 in GMT of Ghana. Ghana.com. www.modernghana.com on the TuneIn app. You can as well follow us there. Follow us on all our social media handles at HitzAfrik Radio. You're watching us live on Facebook Live and YouTube Live at HitzAfrik Radio. Tonight, I've powered up the stories in and around the world, bringing to your doorsteps. My name still remains Abina Ahini. Stay tuned as I bring you the news in headlines. CID investigator exposed as makes false attribution to board members. Man attempts suicide after CEO impregnated his wife. Shoulder all burden, no deputies for you, says Nana Adedankwa Akufo-Addo. Mahama donates 13,000 Ghana cedis to families of deceased, Facial Council. African proves a reign for Russian and Chinese vaccines. South Africa's Mochipe unanimously elected new CAF president. US ready to support Nigeria, says officials. Now stay tuned as I bring you the news headlines. CID investigator exposed as he makes false attribution to board members. Claims by the trial investigator, Chief Inspector Thomas Prempeh Messer, that board members of Cocoa Board were hoodwinked to approve the purchase of Litovite fertilizer suffered yet another credibility on Thursday. The investigator was categorical that none of the board members, except for Cocoa Board's chief executive, knew that Litovite was an untested product when the board approved its procurement for 3 consecutive seasons, 2014, 2015, and 2016. Even when shown evidence by way of a statement given by the then board of chairman of Cocoa Board to EOCO that all necessary rules and procedures for procurement of such particular chemical and fertilizers were strictly adhered to. The investigator insisted that the board knew nothing about the fertilizer it approved. Yes, my lord, respectfully, I beg to say that the board chairman then, Mr. Daniel Ohini Ejekum, and the other board members, including A1, did not know they were approving for Cocoa Board to buy untested products. Same applied to the entity tender committee. They also did not know that the product, Litovite, that they were buying was not tested by the CRIG, Chief Inspector Prempeh Messer. Chief Inspector Prempeh Messer, who is the 7th prosecution witness, told the court on March 1 under cross-examination. Although minutes of the entity tender committee that were shown to him in court did not support his assertion, the investigator struck to his gun. It, however, emerged during cross-examination on March 11th that the CID investigation team never spoke to any board member at Cocoa Board that approved Litovite fertilizer during their investigation. The revelation left many in the courtroom bewildered, leaving a begging question as to how an investigator with a wing of chief inspector came into the conclusion that none of the board members knew that Litovite fertilizer was untested, with his team never spoke to anybody. Lawyer for Dr. Stephen Opuni Samuel Kujo put it to the witness that apart from the then board chairman, he never spoke to any of the previous board members of Cocoa Board who were during the tenure of first accused. He answered, "My lord, the investigations was centered on bringing out certain facts relating to a crime that has accompanied investigators only speak to those who are connected to the case, those who had knowledge about the case, and from those whom useful information could be obtained in the house of the particular investigation." In a related development, the investigator has previously told the court that he personally spoke to one of Mr. Kutriti on the allegation that he was present with the directive as when given to scientists to shorten the testing of fertilizers. He initially said he also took a statement from him, but later pleaded with the court to check out the CID's docket if the statement was taken from Mr. Kotwati. However, during the last sitting on Thursday, March 11, Chief Inspector Prempe Mesa admitted that he never spoke to Mr. Kuchwati, as he had earlier claimed, let alone take a statement from him. In other stories, man attempts suicide after CEO impregnated wife. A 34-year-old man attempted suicide after a chief executive officer allegedly impregnated his wife and ruining their 2-year-old marriage. I took a knife and attempted to end my life because I was going through hell. I was so much hurt, and I never thought a man took my father and named my daughter after can enter into a sexual relationship with my wife and impregnate her. Embittered Emmanuel told Star FM. Emmanuel accused the chief executive officer of Otado Investment Limited, a private company in Koforidua, the eastern regional capital, of collapsing his marriage after philandering with his wife who was working with the company. According to Emmanuel, who was a fuel pump attendant, he became friends with the CEO, Nathaniel Oti Enin, in 2009 to lay clients and took him as his father. He said later around 2014, the CEO offered him a job opportunity in his company, but pleaded with the CEO to employ his girlfriend, Hannah, who had lost her job by then. The CEO employed her on February 1st, 2024. The CEO employed her on February 1st, 2014. Fast forward, the CEO got married in 2015 for the second time after his divorce, while Emmanuel also got married long-time girlfriend on 13 February 2016. He later started his business after he quit the fuel station job. The wife subsequently delivered and named the baby girl after the CEO of the company. Later, the love relationship between the couple turned sour after the husband gleaned from the mobile phone of the wife pieces of evidence which corroborated with a tip-off that the CEO was allegedly having extramarital affairs with the wife. The marital issues deteriorated despite several attempts by family heads of the husband to resolve it. The wife packed out of the house, alleging that the husband had threatened to kill her and commit suicide. Church leaders of Christ Apostolic Church (CSC), where the CEO fellowships, were informed but failed to investigate the matter. Emmanuel was later arrested and put behind bars at the Eastern Regional Police Headquarters for allegedly abducting their then 3-year-old daughter from Kufuija to Tema, where he relocated to stay away to recover from the pains. He was later released. According to him, divorce processes were hurriedly initiated by the wife with the alleged backing of the CEO in 2019, which was granted by the court in August 2019 without his notice. Currently, the CEO of Emmanuel's ex-wife have a child together and has rented an apartment for her. Jilted Emmanuel says he has been blocked by the ex-wife from seeing the daughter since 2019, threatening to fight on to ensure to make him custody. The CEO of Otado Investments Limited, Daniel Enin, admitted impregnating and having a baby with Hannah, ex-wife of Emmanuel, after their divorce. I was not the cause of their marital issues. We all tried to help them resolve it, but it didn't work. But for now, I won't lie to you, I have a baby with Hannah. It was after their divorce. Hannah, who feels threatened by recently relocated to a different community in New Jabrin South Municipality. This narration is happening at the back of concerns over increasing domestic violence incidents emanating from deteriorating material relationships in the country. In other stories, how YEA booted out Awal Mohammed as PRO and replaced him with Metro TV's Akwesi Efriye. Fresh details are emerging over how Mr. Awal Mohammed, Public Relations Officer of the Youth Employment Agency (YEA), was booted out under dramatic circumstances for Kwesi Efriye, formerly of Metro TV, to replace him in their coveted position. Information available indicates that Awal Mohammed was booted out and has been unemployed as far as back as 2017, with Emmanuel Kwesi Efriye replacing him in 2018. Awal Mohammed rose to the national fame when the Deputy National Communications Officer for Zongo Caucus, the official wing of the National Democratic Congress (NDC) in the Congo communities, announced his defection to the opposition New Patriotic Party in October 2016. Awal Mohammed, who made the announcement in the press statement dated Wednesday, October 5th, 2018, said as a senior member of the NDC communication team in the Ashanti region, his decision is to defect from the NDC to the MPP was based on his principles and convictions. He expressed disappointment and the NCDC did not take any policy to address concern of the Zongo community in its recently launched manifesto. Awal Mohammed added that he believed the NDC, as a party, had failed to tackle the high unemployment situations in the country resulting in untold hardship on many people. This is believed to be why he was quickly sorted with a youth employment agency appointment when Akufo-Addo won the December 2018 elections. However, some members of the governing New Patriotic Party (NPP) expressed their displeasure over the appointment of Awal Mohammed to serve as the Public Relations Officer (PRO) of the Youth Employment Agency. They said it was a betrayal of the rank and file members of the NPP who had told long before Awal Mohammed was to the scene and had no appointment. According to the press release signed by Prince Milunu, a communications team member of the NPP in the Ashanti region, the Awal's appointment has in many ways betrayed the long-held principle of the rewarding long service, loyalty, and hard work among its members. The release indicated that the decision by the president makes nonsense of the sacrifices and dedication of their equally competent young persons who have served the party well over all these years. Mr. Milono said the statement that he was saddened by the lack of appreciation shown to us by the party and now of us and now laughing stock in the eyes of the colleagues in their party. Mr. Milono said the statement he was has saddened the lack of appreciation shown to us by the party and now many of us are now laughing stock in the eyes of our colleagues in the parties. The release pointed out that the appointment will set a very bad precedent that will have dire consequences for the unity, especially among the youth of the party going forward in the future. It is this and other matters that has been made private to and triggered Awal's Mohammed removal as Youth Employment Agency. In other stories, shoulder or burden, no deputies for you, Akufo-Addo to regional ministers. President Nana Akufo-Addo has said he will not appoint deputy regional ministers. He stressed the decision during the swearing-in ceremony of the 16 vetted regional ministers who will be representing him in their respective posts. As chairpersons of the regional coordinating councils of your respective regions, you have the most regular and direct impact on the lives of people, the president told the new ministers, adding, "You set the tone for the administration and development in your regions. Another important role you play is that of the chair of the Regional Security Council. You do not need to tell me that you are most important function to help ensure peace, law, and order in our regions." The president told the ministers, "All our plans and programs will come to naught if there is no space." He pointed them out. The president advised them, thus, you must be very careful and tactful in managing issues of intelligence and security. He said Article 256 of the 1992 Constitution outlines our responsibilities sanctity. You represent the president in the region and you are responsible for the coordination and direction of the government administrative ministry in the region. As you all know already, he said, "I have taken the decision not to appoint deputy regional ministers. This means you have to shoulder the work by yourself as I can know." In other stories, Mahama donates 13,000 Ghana cedis to families of deceased special counsel. Former President John Mahama has made a donation of 13,000 Ghana cedis to the families of the teenagers who drowned at the Apam Central region. Last week, the Fishermen Council that assisted with the rescue efforts. Mr. Mohammed's ruling mate in the 2020 general elections, Prof. Nana Jane Opoku Ajiman, made a donation on behalf of her boss when she led a delegation of party members of the main opposition National Democratic Congress (NDC) to visit the bereaved families on Thursday, 11 March 2021. Last Sunday's incident claimed the lives of more than 20 teenagers. So far, 13 bodies have been retrieved from the sea. The delegation, said by Mr. Mahama, led by his 2020 running mates, including the party's parliamentary caucus of the Central Region and some region and constituency executives of the party. Among the MPs were Mr. Richard Jan Mensah, Mr. Kaiser Otto Barforsen, Mr. James Jachik Kwesen, Mr. Abegu Crenshaw, Mr. David Vondi, and Mrs. Gisela Tete Agbotui. The party executives included Mr. Theophilus A. Mensah, Mr. Kojo Kwanzaa, Ms. Faustina Lamte, Alhaji Mohammed Kasim, and other constituency leaders. The delegation met with the bereaved families and the Fishermen Council. The donations were to support traditional rituals and the burial service of the young victims. Prof. Opoku Ajiman consoled the bereaved families and engaged the two survivors and their families. Also, she registered her profound gratitude and appreciation to all those who helped with the rescue efforts, especially the Fisherman Council, the youth of APAM, management and staff of St. Luke Catholic Hospital, and the District Police Command. Moving on to other African countries' stories. Stay tuned as I bring you the news in details. You are listening to HitzAfrik Radio on your tuning app at HitzAfrik Radio. You can as well log on to mountainghana.com. www.mountainghana.com. Also, you can follow us on all our social media handles at HitzAfrik Radio. We are streaming live on Facebook and Instagram. We are streaming live on YouTube at HitzAfrik Radio. African proves working terrain for Russian and Chinese vaccines. Russian and Chinese vaccines are being rolled out in a number of countries. Russia and China are racing to plug the COVID-19 vaccine gap in Africa, hoping to cement their influence on a continent where many countries have yet to administer a single shot. But so far, vaccine donations from Beijing and Moscow have been small. The commercial details they offer are constantly, and some African governments are wary about a lack of data. As rich countries ramp up their inoculation drives, Africa, without the sources to pre-order Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson vaccine is being left behind. With Western nations facing criticism for hoarding supplies, flooding Africa with saving lives short will be a soft power coup for Russia and China. Moscow has offered 300 million doses with financing to the African Union AU purchasing scheme. Beijing has pledged nearly a quarter of all its vaccine donations to Africa, according to data compiled by Bridge Consulting and Beijing-based Health Sector Advisory. This is a vivid manifestation of China-African friendship, China's foreign ministry told Reuters. Africa is one of the key markets for Sputnik 5, said the Russian Directive Fund RDIF of the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Marketing is Sputnik 5 vaccine abroad. French President Emmanuel Macron says Europe is the United States risks losing influence in Africa over the issue. However, John Inkegason, head of the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, cautioned against vaccine diplomacy, saying powers must not use as token allocations to carry political influence. Africa will refuse to be that playing ground where they use COVID as a tool to manage relationships, he said on a webinar hosted by the Atlantic Council think in late Friday. It became like you are trying to sprinkle water on a very hot day on children. They can fake to box that you did that, he said. That's not what we are after as a continent. While other developing regions have turned to Russia or China, the Africa, their statement, has translated into few shots to arms. Africa has received around 3.15 million shots from China, or less than 4% of his vaccine export. Bridge Consulting data showed. The members of Vaccine China is donating are not going to move the needle in any of these countries. But it is as much about the optics, said Eric Olanda, co-founder of the China Africa project. Russia has shipped a total of 100,000 vaccine doses to Algeria, Tunisia, and Guinea. The global vaccine sharing scheme COVAX, meanwhile, delivered nearly 15 million shots to 22 African countries in its first 10 days. The facilities co-held, led by the World Health Organization, GAVI, and others, aim to ship 35 million doses to Africa by the end of the month and 270 million to the end of 2021. That will still only be enough to inculcate those at greatest risk. China's leading vaccines from the China National Pharmaceutical Group, Sinopharm, and Sinovac are not yet approved for emergency use by the WHO, neither is Russia's Sputnik V vaccine. China offered South Africa, the African nation hardest hit by the pandemic, 2 million shots. Its health minister said, but a government official involved in the procurement into Gibraltar, the lack of trial data meant Chinese vaccines were not being seriously considered for now. Moving on to the next country in Africa, South Africa. South Africa's Motsepe unanimously elected new CAF president. South African billionaire Patrick Motsepe has finally been elected president of the Confederation of African Football, CAF. His election was by anonymous decision on Thursday, on March 13 by CAF's General Assembly meeting in Rabat, Morocco. His election was widely expected after all contested pulled out of the race. He became the first South African to be elected and faces an uphill task in cleaning the image of the Confederation. He follows in the footsteps of two Egyptians, a Sudanese, an Ethiopian, a Cameroonian, and a Malagasy. Motsepe succeeded embattled Malagasy Ahmed, who is serving a 2-year FIFA ban over governance issues, and will require his vast array of business skills to fix the organization. Unlike previous African footballer leaders who came from the National Association backgrounds, his connection to the support stems from owning record 2016 African champions Mamelodi Sundowns. Until a recent rule change, the supporter for Spanish giant Barcelona would not have been eligible to become president, as candidates had to be CAF executive committee members. The 59-year-old began his working life as a lawyer, switched to mining, and is now involved in many businesses. Forbes magazine estimates his personal wealth at $2.9 billion, 2.4 billion euros. He was born on January 28, 1962, and raised in Soweto, the huge township near Johannesburg. His father was a school teacher and later the owner of a spaza shop general store, which was frequented mainly to black mine workers. Patrick assisted his father at the shop during school days, and it was a store that he learned the principles of business. In Tanzania, Magufuli in good health in Tanzania. Tanzania's President John Magufuli is in good health and working normally. One of his diplomats has told a broadcaster in Manambia. Encountering reports he had been flown to hospital in Kenya and then India in a critical condition with COVID-19. Magufuli, 61, who is Africa's most prominent coronavirus skeptic, has not been seen in public since February 27. Tanzania opposition leader Tundu Lissu has cited medical and security sources for information that the president was flown to the private Nairobi hospital in neighboring Kenya and then onto the Indian in command. But the Manambia Broadcasting Corporation quoted Tanzania's ambassador in Windhoek, Modaistu Kipilimba, as saying Magufuli was in good health terms remained in Tanzania. Health Commissioner Kimpilimba dismissed the report, saying Magufuli is in Tanzania going about his duty. NBC said, in what would be the first public comment from a Tanzania official about Magufuli's situation since questions were raised. Kenya's national newspaper cited unidentified political and diplomatic sources earlier this week, saying that an African leader, which is not named, was being threatened for COVID-19 on a ventilator at a private Nairobi hospital. In power since 2015 and nicknamed the bulldozer, Magufuli has played heads down the threat of COVID-19, saying and remedies such as steam inhalation, which protect Tanzanians. He has mocked coronavirus tests, denounced vaccines as part of a Western conspiracy to take Africans' wealth and opposed mask wearing and social distancing. Tanzania stopped reporting coronavirus data in May last year when it said it had 509 cases and 21 deaths. According to the World Health Organization, which has urged Magufuli's government to be more transparent and implement COVID-19 curbs. Magufuli, a former chemistry professor from the village of Chato in northwest Tanzania, was first elected president in 2015. He has faced accusations from Western countries and opposition parties of eroding democracy, which he denies. Let's move on to Nigeria, having some stories in Nigeria. Dozens of students abducted from college in northwest Nigeria. Gunmen in northwest Nigeria kidnapped about 30 students overnight from a forestry college near a military academy. 3 students said on Friday in the fourth mass school abduction since December. The Federal College of Forestry Mechanization sits out the outskirts of Kaduna City, capital of Kaduna State, in a reign roamed by armed gangs who often travel on motorcycles. Kaduna State Security Commissioner Samuel Aruran confirmed the attack but did not say anyhow students have been taken. Sani Danjuma, a student at the college, said those abducted were all female students, but authorities were unable to confirm this. Other students said some of the young women had managed to escape during the attack. Local resident Halum Salisu, speaking by phone, said he had heard sporadic gunshots at around 11:30 p.m. We were not panicking, thinking it was a normal military exercise being conducted at the Nigerian Defense Academy, he said. We came out for dawn prayers at 5:20 a.m. and saw some of the students, teachers, and security personnel all over the school premises. They told us that gunmen raided the school and abducted some of the students. Salisu said she has seen military personnel taking the remaining students into the academy. On Friday morning, relatives of students gathered at the gate of the college, which was surrounded by around 20 army trucks. Banditry has festered for years in northern West Nigeria, rendering large swathes of the region lawless. Now let's do some stories in Uganda. Police is yet to arrest the suspect who has since gone into hiding. Uganda president's authorities had identified the woman who was filmed while brutalizing a 5-year-old child as patient Wimana, 25. She was recently released from the Kisoro prison for attempted murder. The incident that went viral on Wednesday as Ugandans called for her arrested took place at Guma Zone, Kizanga Trading Center, Luenge District. AIGP Asan Kashinje on Thursday identified a victim as Alfred Sebandenke. The suspect is the one she will be arrested for, Kasinge said in a tweet. Earlier, the government sought help from the members of the public to give it information that might lead to identification and arrest of Awimana. The Minister of ICT, Judith Nakakuba, appealed to members of the public with information about the woman to take the place to enable the arrest and charge her. The government of Uganda doesn't and will never tolerate abuse of child's rights. Any leads to this heartless woman are welcome, Ms. Nakakuba said on Thursday. The suspect was speaking Luanganda, a direct dialect which gives detectives an indication that the crime could have been committed in Uganda. However, the person who captured the video wasn't bothered, but saving the child from the beating. It was clear whether police was charged the person who recorded the incident. Some sections of the public, especially on social media, have called for charging of the person who recorded the video for abetting torture and failure to rescue the child from the tormentor. Police spokesperson Fred Inaga said there is no confirmation of arrest yet, but security and the locals are trying hard to follow up the social media clues, but still in vain, Commissioner of Police Nganga said. You're listening to HitzAfrik Radio right here. We are transmitting live in Ghana on the TuneIn app as well as www.modernghana.com. You can find HitzAfrik Radio there. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Now let's do some foreign stories for this evening. United States of America are ready to support Nigeria, says officials. The Deputy Assistant Secretary, Bureau of African Affairs, Michael Gonzalez, has said that the Boko Haram and the Islamic State West African province were not involved in the spate of abductions going on into Niger, Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna State, and in other parts of the northwest Nigeria. Although Boko Haram has opportunistically claimed credit for several of these kidnappings in the past, Gonzalez said there was no indication that the terrorists were involved in these. The official, who said the U.S. was disgusted by the abductions of school children, said the U.S. was ready to provide appropriate support to the federal government if he requested to do so, stating that the criminal activity was being carried out by bandits who were motivated by money and other economic considerations. This is an unspecific number of female students of the Federal College of Forestry Mechanism in the Mando Ingabi local government area of Kaduna State were abducted on Friday morning by unknown gunmen. The Deputy Assistant Secretary, Bureau of African Affairs, said that at a telephonic briefing with journalists attended by the Acting Coordinator for Counterterrorism and Acting Special Envoy of the Global Coalition of Defeat, ISIS, John Godfrey, on Thursday. A transcript of the briefing was made available to our correspondent in Abuja. Responding to a question on the mass abductions in country, Gonzalez stated, "Frankly, we are disgusted by the pattern of mass abductions of school kids. I can think of nothing more abhorrent, and our condolences out to the individuals affected and their families." But as the questionnaire poses, there are indications by a dynamic stemming of criminal gangs motivated by monetary and economic factors. There's involved in these. Although I would note that Boko Haram has opportunistically claimed credit for several of these kidnappings in the Northwest in the past. The senior official noted that America could help in developing the capabilities of the security forces to better respond to internal security threats. He added, longer term we seek to help develop the capacities of the Nigerian security services in order for them to adequately respond to the internal threats that the country faces. Again, I think the challenges are many in Nigeria.
You are listening to HitzAfrik Radio.
In other stories, GOG seeks to build large conspiracy against Oath Keepers for January 6th round. The Oath Keepers is the most high-profile self-styled militia group in the country, while members use the jargon and trappings of the paramilitary organization. In daily practice, and group is often more akin to the collection of local chapters with a similar disinformation-forward ideology about what they view as the inevitable collapse of the U.S. government as it becomes more tyrannical. This is not a well-trained army or a disciplined military unit. This was a loose structure, said Carl Skmer, who dealt with the Oath Keepers when he was an FBI negotiator responding to the 2016 occupation of a wildlife refuge building in eastern Oregon. The Oath Keepers group is a major target of the sprawling FBI investigation into the riots at the U.S. Capitol, along with another militant group, The Proud Boys, according to the people familiar with the matter, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss an ongoing investigation. How aggressively the Chief Department pursues such extremism be a major test not only of the Biden demonstration pledged to combat domestic terrorism, but also the law of the courts. In other stories, Republicans put false and misleading accounts of a Capitol Rhodes. Rhodes, who once worked as a congregational staffer for former Libertarian Crossman Ron Paul, was in Washington on January 6th, but insists he did not tell his members to attack Congress and did not want them to. The Oath Keepers members who allegedly went into the U.S. Capitol went to tally off mission. Rhodes said this week in an interview there was a bunch of chaos, and I wanted to make sure my guys didn't get into trouble. Some of them had gone stupid and jammed inside the Capitol. Peter Skinner, a former federal prosecutor, said the government tends to view conspiracies very broadly. You need an agreement to commit a crime, but you don't need the actual commission of the underlying crime. But hoping that the leaders agree that the individuals will do something can be difficult because they would have some short of meeting of the minds. The best way to move up in the chain in these kinds of things is by flipping someone who will testify.
You are listening to HitzAfrik Radio.
In other stories, in summit with India, Japan, and Australia, Biden says free Indo-Pacific essential. U.S. President Joe Biden met leaders of Australia, India, and Japan on Friday, a group central to his effort to counter China's growing military and economic power, and said a free and open Indo-Pacific region was crucial to all of them. The White House says the virtual meeting of the countries, known as the Quad, the first at leader level, shows the importance Biden places on the Indo-Pacific region and that it will focus on tackling the coronavirus pandemic and climate crisis and reviving economic growth. The free and open Indo-Pacific is essential for each of our futures, Biden told the meeting from the White House. The United States is committed to work with you, our partners, and all our allies in the region to achieve stability. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga and said he wanted to therefore to forge strongly ahead towards the realization of a free and open Indo-Pacific. India and Australia also emphasized the importance of regional security cooperation, which has been enhanced by previous lower-level Quad meetings. Now let's move on to other countries of the foreign affairs. In Tokyo, Myanmar's first state flight held by Japanese on space station. Myanmar's first state flight is being held on board the International Space Station following the Myanmar coup, while Japanese space agency and the Japanese university decide what to do with it. Two Japanese university officials said the $50 million statement was built by Japanese Hokkaido University in a joint project. The Myanmar's government-funded Myanmar Aerospace Engineering University (MAEU). It is the first of a set of 2 kilograms microsatellites equipped with cameras designed to monitor agriculture and fisheries. Human rights activists and some officials in Japan worry that those cameras will be used for military purposes by the junta that seized power in Myanmar on February 1st. Moving on to another country of the foreign affairs. United Kingdom. UK police confirm body found in woodland is of missing woman. British police officers said on Friday that a body found in a wood outside London that was of Sarah Everard, whose disappearance last week has sparked anger and fears among women and their safety. Everard, 33, disappeared while walking home from a friend's house in South London last Wednesday, and police have arrested the 7th officer of suspicion of her kidnap and murder. He also has led to the outpouring of personal accounts by women of their own experiences and fears of walking streets alone at night, and a campaign for action to address this. Speaking outside the London Police headquarters on Friday, Assistant Commissioner Nick F. Gray confirmed a body found 2 days ago was that of the missing woman. I know that the public feel hurt and angry about what has happened, and those are sentiments that I share personally and have said. Stay tuned as I bring you the entertainment story for tonight. Have a wonderful time with us. You're watching HitzAfrik Radio TV. Yes, Radio Struck TV, right here on Facebook, and as well, we're streaming live on YouTube too. Don't forget to comment, like, and share our pages. Now let's do some entertainment news. Stonebwoy is selfish. He doesn't care about the rest of us. 4 years ago in 2018, when Stonebwoy was a xylophone media signee, one of his label mates, Kumi Guitar, labeled him ungrateful after he disclosed his intentions to exit the record label. The High Life artist and the first to be signed onto the xylophone media record label at that time expressed displeasure at the tussle between the entertainment company and Stonebwoy. Stonebwoy, during that particular year, disclosed plans of terminating his contract with Xylophone Media after their relationship went sour. His decision at that point, according to him, was mainly because he has outgrown the company and as such needs to move on to establish his own. It was in that light Kumi Guitar accused Stonebwoy of exhibiting selfishness and ingratitude which could destroy Xylophone brand if not Jack. He said Stonebwoy was unfair to the record label, adding that he intended to leave without properly fulfilling his own side of the contract. In other stories, gospel artist Audacious Sally releases street anthem Never Try Me. After winning the hearts of Ghanaians with a meeting style B.A.B. this year, Hilltop Records artist Audacious Sally is never slouching as she continues to grim her stance in the gospel scenes with amazing compositions. On the 12th of March 2021, the talented songstress is releasing another record dubbed Never Try Me to cement her position as the most decorated female gospel artist in Ghana. This release intends to bring the international gap and to correct the still perception of the local gospel industry. Never Try Me, according to management, will help other gospel musicians, both old and upcoming ones, to acclimatize and to script biblical and soul edifying words in their song composition without any perversions meeting international standards. Born Selena Ofosia, Audacious Sally sits at the pantheon of musicians with only a few people. Her general composition abilities could continue to be a blimey to many music aficionados, and it is evidently clear her latest single, Never Try Me, will be the industry standard for rating delivery and composition henceforth. In other stories, 2021 budget, arts, entertainment, and hospitality gets tax break. Government, as part of its efforts to lessen the adverse effects of the coronavirus pandemic on complaints and recovery the economic from the COVID-19 induced setback, has granted tax break to companies within the arts, entertainment, and hospitality sector. Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, the interim finance minister, Osei Mensa Bonsu, made this known during the 2021 budget statement and economic policy presentation in Parliament on Friday, March 12, 2021. According to him, it is important to provide companies within these sectors the needed tax exemptions to cushion them against the economic effects of the COVID-19 global pandemic. He said, this forms part of the government's broader economic recovery plan to get the Ghanaian economy back to its previous state. He said government will provide corporate income tax rebate of 30% to companies hard hit by COVID-19 pandemic for Q2 to Q4 of 2021. Targeted companies include those of the accommodation and food services, education, art and entertainment, and travel and tour operators. However, the minister assured that the tax exemptions given to these companies will not in any way derail government revenue mobilization for the 2021 fiscal year. He said government has deployed creative revenue mobilization strategies in the medium term that will help increase the country's revenue streams. In the medium term, we
You
will
are
pursue
listening to
revenue
Hits
enhancing
Afrik
measures with a focus on
Radio.
deepening our digitalization agenda on transactions with goods and services as well as the tax collection machinery as part of measures to broaden the tax base and rope in a lot more eligible taxpayers into the tax net. Expenditures will be rationalized, though the implementation of tighter expenditure controls system with a more efficient procurement against the sheer value for money. We will also pursue structural reforms in public finance management systems to improve efficiency in public service delivery, he noted. Thank you for your time and patience. This is where the time ends for News in Detail. A recap of the headlines that came your way this evening were the CIG investigator exposed as mass force attribution to board members. Man attempts suicide after CEO impregnated his wife. Shoulder all burden, no deputies for you. Magufuli in good health in Tanzania. Tokyo's mammoth first satellite held by Japan on space station. These and many other stories hit Afrik Radio brought your way this evening. My name is Abina Ahini. Thank you for your time and patience. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay tuned for more music and entertainment.